This episode of the Digital Marketing Punkcast is brought to you by Inner4, the digital agency based in Wigan and Leeds, which makes your business's digital presence simple. For nearly 20 years, Inner4 has been providing new modern business websites that simply work for their clients' goals. And they could do the same for you. From simple startup websites to complex e-commerce or property websites, Inner4 are experts in the field. Now, full disclosure, I am biased because my full-time job is actually the digital marketing director at Inner4. So once we built your lovely website, we can even take care of the digital marketing too. However, you don't have to take my word for it. Take a look at our website and you can see and even ask the client themselves about how they feel about working with us. And we are pretty confident you won't be disappointed. So head over to our website, inner4.com. That's INA4.com.
This is the Digital Marketing Punkcast.
Hello and welcome to the active resistance against bad digital marketing. This is the Digital Marketing Punkcast and I am DM Punk. This is episode number 24 and today I have Neil Simpson on the show and this episode was recorded in November, technically, of 2019. Oh, here we go. What can I say about this show? It's a really, really interesting one, and if you are interested in marketing and you want to really get in your teeth into marketing, or perhaps marketing scares you, which I know a lot of people find that, and that is understandable. It's a complex beast, okay? Then there's one person that I personally always recommend, and that is my guest on the show today, Mr. Neil Simpson. I'm not going to talk too much about Neil. I want to really let the interview that I've got on the show speak for itself. But I remember my first introduction to Neil Simpson was a long time ago. I went to a session down at the MMU and we were talking. It was a session about Twitter, I believe, and I didn't go in with very high expectations, but I was blown away, not just by the content of this session, but by the personality behind it. And that personality really made it come to life. It made it interesting. It made it accessible. And when I saw this man or man-child talk about marketing and trying to put across the message that he was trying to do, I realized how accessible he was, and he made you think and he made you ask questions. It wasn't cheap tricks and dirty schemes and tactics. It was all about what you are trying to do for the people that you are trying to do it for, and breaking it down for that. And yeah, there were key takeaways that you could take from them. There were ideas and things where you could go, oh, I can do this and I can try this, but pure and simply, he was trying to make you understand what it is that your audience is looking for, and make you think about that. And yeah, like I say, I'm not going to go into too much detail about Neil. I want the interview to do that. But for me personally, it's been a really interesting week. I have an announcement to make. Essentially, again, I have been lovingly invited to come down to Bracknell next year in October, because I'm going to be doing another Blog On event. I know many of the listeners are prior attendees to Blog On. I was there in Bracknell earlier on this year, and again earlier on this year, because there was two this year, when it was in Manchester. And I've done one session in Manchester, and that was all about podcasting, and that went down really well. I was just there in Bracknell this time to do some podcasting stuff, as I recorded and spoke to you all and interviewed you all. It's a fantastic time. And again, I've been asked to speak at the next one next year in October, which is super, super cool. And I need your help. to be honest. If you are a blogger and you're listening to the show, then it's really key and essential that I try and find some proper research, some proper data that's actually going to help you. And I'll tell my reasons behind that, okay? Most of the marketing gumph and talks and sessions and webinars and whatever the fuck it is, okay? Most of that is absolute bullshit. It's quick schemes, it's quick wins, it's tips, it's tricks, okay? And you know what? 90% of them actually don't work. They're all complete and utter bullshit. And what I want to do is actually dig deep into the data, okay? I've worked in digital marketing for a long time. I work with a lot of businesses, large and small, to try and help them gain more traffic to their website. And what I want to do in order to achieve that, okay, it's not just me knowing some fancy scheme or me having some secret recipe in a box somewhere so that I can always apply it to every single website. It doesn't work like that. What I need to do is a deep dive on some data, some real life data, to find out exactly what's going on. So I need that data to provide you the opportunity to learn more about how you can drive more traffic towards your blog. So if you are interested and you have a blog, and you want to help me find some information and some resources to present back to you at BlogOn in October, then I would very much appreciate it. All you need to do is just hit me up on Twitter, okay? You can send me a DM. It's at IamDMPunk, IamDMPunk, and just message me saying, hey, I'd like to volunteer with my blog, and I'd be more than happy to take you through the process that I need to be able to achieve that. So, yeah, if you do that, or if you're just interested in the outcome, which is very, very selfish of you, then I do recommend, and I know the tickets are going fast for BlogOn 2020 next year. It's in Bracknell, it's in October. I recommend you get your tickets now if you want to watch what I'm going to present. So that is my announcement. Right now, though, let's go straight into it. This is my interview with the fantastic, the phenomenal Neil Simpson. I'm here with the legendary, the amazing, gorgeous Neil Simpson. Good morning. I keep going. I want to say good afternoon because I usually do these things in the afternoon. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you feeling this fine wintry morning?
Morningy.
Morningy. Very morningy.
Very morningy. I'm renowned for my ability to be chipper as fuck in the morning.
I noticed that as you walked in the room this morning. Yeah, I did notice that.
I've had 2 pints of coffee, so I'm all good.
Yeah, you're good now. Now, this is a re-recording of an interview that we did at the Business Expo Wigan last week. Now, sadly, I couldn't use the audio, but now I'm going to use the audio because I'm in a quiet room here at Launch Events. The Launch Events HQ, as I'm calling it in Atherton. The Nerve Centre, precisely. Now, I didn't get to see your huddle by the time I spoke to you last time because it was prior, but now I saw your huddle at the Business Expo Wigan. You were talking about the power of saying no.
Yes.
Which was super cool, and I loved it. I really, really enjoyed it. Give us a brief rundown. What is the power of saying no? What is it about?
The power of saying no. It's scientifically based, obviously, like everything we do. But generally, in business, what we try and do is say yes to everything. And the idea that the more options we have, the more opportunities we have. However, science says otherwise. Mm-hmm. The actual title of that kind of presentation is Turning Surviving into Thriving.
Yes.
And the cut and thrust of it is you can't thrive at everything. Mm-hmm. So what you have to do is say no to more stuff. Because if you're saying yes to everything, then we all have those customers who are more trouble than they're worth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Say no to them.
Yeah.
And by saying no to more stuff, you take away all the rubbish, and then you can say yes to the stuff that actually builds your business,
yes,
makes you happy, gets you moist. This is what I'm trying badly not to say. But by saying no to the stuff that doesn't excite you, you can say yes. You've got more time, resources, and energy available to say yes to the stuff that does excite you.
What do you think it is inbuilt in us that makes us just go yes instantaneously?
Desperation.
Very true.
Especially in the early stages of businesses where we are generally without a very clear plan, generally without a very clear brand, and generally without much of a clue about how business works, because people set up businesses because they can do a job rather than run a business. And learning how to run that business is takes time, effort, and energy. And what people set off with is an idea to build a job for themselves rather than build a business for themselves. And they're
Very
two
true.
very, very different things.
Very, very true. Let's talk about marketing briefly. Because I believe this podcast is called the Digital Marketing Punkcast.
If you believe it, it's true.
Exactly. If I believe something, it will become true. So,
Party manifesto.
if this current state of marketing, okay? The current state of marketing.
Okay.
30 seconds.
Okay.
Go.
That's a pretty general question. Personally, I believe that marketing is truth.
Yep.
And marketing is about fundamentally understanding who you are, who your customers are, like real customers, not I don't work with anybody.
Yes.
But who your real customers are, and then building a bridge through your values between the two groups. And the more clear you can be about those values to start with, then the more your customers will respond to you. Professional,
Yes.
that's a given. Quality, that means we meet the spec of what we say we're gonna.
Yes. All those traditional words.
Yeah, professional, creative, unique, bespoke, all of that kind of stuff. It's all nonsense. They're givens. But well, maybe not bespoke. But nobody has a bespoke business.
No.
So what you mean is configurable at that point. And it's, believe it or not, I'm not everybody's cup of tea.
You're shitting me.
Everybody's.
I just spat out my coffee. Fuck off.
And that's, I'm good with that. I'm absolutely delighted with that, because if people understand that they're out to start with,
Yeah.
then it makes it easier to say no to them. They don't come on my radar, and I get to work with the people who do get me, and they're all amazing, because what they want to do is do something true, do something real, do something resonant, and actually do something valuable for their customers, and that's what I believe is the thing.
Rightly so. Rightly, I mean, that's the thing that resonates with me about you. You know, that whole ethos that surrounds you is just powerful. You are an op-ed as well, but that's by the by. What's the biggest mistake that people make when it comes to marketing their business at the moment?
Marketing the business, that's a really difficult question, because there are so many mistakes. The
one that pisses you off the most.
One that pisses me off. The notion that busy is good. The notion that you have to be on all platforms all at once. The notion that you have to spin things. Or, I mean, that's not one thing, but they're the key things for me. That if marketing's truth, tell your truth, just be more fucking interesting while you do it. Nobody cares about your products. Nobody cares about your business. Really, what they care is about how your products and business make them feel when they use your stuff.
Yeah.
So help them understand how you can help in their terms, not about you.
Yes, nobody fucking cares, I suppose, is one of the key rules that people have to sort of get through to themselves. Is actually the message, 99.9% of the time, the message that you're actually saying is nobody fucking cares.
Exactly. So what? Before you write anything, before you put any kind of information online, read it out loud to yourself and think, so what?
Yes.
We would like to announce that we're going to be at such and such event. So what?
Yeah.
If there's a reason to make them go and tell people at your event, we're going to be at this event and we're going to be doing a clever little dance
Yes.
that's going to change your life forever, and we're going to make you happy. That's a different thing.
Which is life for you to be able to...
Exactly. Through all of your marketing, you need to be thinking about what's in it for your audience.
Yeah.
And information. Sorry, I'm doing like silent bunnies here. But and information, quote unquote information, does not cut it. Everybody has enough information. And frankly, we're very, very good at ignoring it.
Yeah, well, when you have an influx of information like we do nowadays, all the time, constantly on our phones, you have to sort of stand out a little bit.
A little bit. You have to pull people towards you.
Yeah.
By being useful, or engaging, or entertaining, or just damn sexy like yourself, Thomas.
Thank you very much.
That's the one thing.
I've been working hard on this.
It takes me no effort. Yeah. So if you, on the information thing, if on a daily basis we see about, or we come into contact with about 1 million different bits of information a day, so that excuse me,
Sorry.
if that was a pile of newspapers, that 1 million bits of information would be a pile of broadsheet newspapers like the Times, 7.5 feet tall. Do you really think Do you really think that some half-arsed update about which networking event you're going to, or why your office junior is now the employee of the week, is really going to impress anybody but that junior's mum?
Well,
So,
yes.
so what you have to do is help people understand over time that you're useful, that
Yes.
you're engaging, that you're interested, by talking more about them and their problems than about you and your business.
Yes.
'Cause nobody cares.
It's reverse thinking about that, because usually we go, this is something that we can talk about, I'm going to put this out, and hopefully people will care, where you should be going the backwards of that.
Exactly. And this is kind of one of the, to take back to the point where you said before, that you don't have to be on all the platforms.
Yes.
The platform that you have to be on is the one your customers are on.
Yes, where they are.
And you don't have to, I mean, there's so much shit information on the internet about, well, you need to post 15 times a day, bollocks. Well, you need to be on Facebook 3 times a day, bollocks. So all this kind of rubbish stuff about kind of top of mind. There's 2 different types of top of mind.
Yes.
There is top of mind recall, which is first person to think about. However, Nigel Farage is a fantastic example of that. We all know who he is. He's on Question Time all the time.
Yeah.
We can name him, we can pick him out things, but nobody has ever voted for him.
No.
As an MP. 7 different general elections he's lost. 7. And despite the fact that if you were to name a politician, can you name a politician in the country? He'd be one of the top 3 answers.
Yeah.
So top of mind, recall, doesn't mean anything.
No.
Okay, so what you're after is top of mind choice.
Yes.
Yeah, so what you want, and that is built on a valuable relationship where you have a value match and people understand the value that you can create and the relationship you have with them.
Yeah.
Now,
Which takes a lot of sort of foundation building. You have to really, really start to go back to basics about your business and start thinking, this is who I am or who we are, and this is what we do, and this is what I want to provide value for. You have to really start breaking it down.
yes, and then talk about your customers.
Yes. Which people don't know.
If you're talking about you, then nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. The great, good to know your business brands, good to know your business values, good to know all of that kind of stuff. But the person you should be focusing on, the person you should be concentrating on, the person you should be talking about are your customers.
Yes.
Because if you think about the stuff that we look for online, okay, we don't, apart from porn, obviously, when we're searching for stuff online, we're not searching for information about anything other than us.
Yes.
How do I solve my problems? How do I have fun? How do I do this? Where can I go to do X, Y, and Z? It's all about yourself,
Yes.
right? And business think, what can we tell them about us?
Yeah.
There's a value mismatch there. If I'm looking for me and you're talking about you, then your message isn't going to resonate.
No.
So talk about your customers.
Yes.
And the more you talk about them and their problems and the solution to their problems and all of the stuff that goes with that, the more likely they are to find you via search and care once they do.
Man, that's fantastic. It is. You make it sound so simple, but
It is.
Well, it is. It's a changing of mindset. I think is usually the biggest challenge that you probably find on when you're working with businesses and other people when you're going through that process. Speaking of which. How do you, what are you doing at the moment to help businesses and stuff like that to change that mindset? What have you got coming up?
What have I got coming up? Well, currently, I'm in the studio, darling. Currently, I'm shooting a new product called Marketing Hero, which is the nuts and bolts of how you discover your brand or clarify your brand, how you plan a campaign, how you manage to find enough time to do things, because it's never about time, it's always about conflicting priorities.
Yes.
So that Marketing Hero, we're in the studio at the moment with Workshop Media in Lancaster. We're shooting.
Amazing.
Yeah, they're lovely people. Excuse me. So we're currently shooting that at the moment. That's due for launch early next year. Then I've got. I'm loath to say this, but my best work ever. I'm so proud of this, in launching towards summer next year, called Content Hero, which is using the psychological principles of influence to make your content not shit.
Okay.
Stop laughing, you. Because the whole point, if it's based on this kind of the thinking that if marketing exists to influence people, and it does,
Yes.
and the science of influence exists, which it does, why isn't more content based around the scientific principles of influence?
Which is very true if you think about it from my work in marketing and stuff like that. We focus a lot on tools and we focus a lot on this platform and that platform and all that kind of stuff. But actually the psychology element is something you don't learn about.
Marketing, it's not about fucking buttons.
No.
This is the thing, it's not about the platforms, it's not about tools. It's
which is where this bullshit marketing comes from. You know, all this content that you get on the internet, you scroll through Twitter, it's like, you need to post this many times on Twitter a day. That's where the bullshit comes from.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you do post rubbish, then posting more rubbish makes you more notable.
Yeah.
For good or ill.
Yes.
But if you're posting valuable message that applies to your customers, that will give them value, then... And this is a bit of a long-term thing, but they will, in time, find you, build a relationship with you, and then you will be their top-of-mind choice.
Yes.
When they do want something that you actually selling. And you know when they want to buy something from you because they ask.
Yes.
Because they ask. So you don't have to do any sales at that point. And admittedly, this is a long-term plan. So, marketing is psychology.
Yeah.
Stat. There's all marketers should think of themselves as a combination between psychologists and journalists, and if you use the principles of psychology, principles of the psychology of influence properly, then you will see your content massively increase in engagement and conversion.
Well, that sounds fucking amazing, and I can't wait for the summer of next year. Hopefully, I can get you back on. We can talk a little bit more in detail about it, and chat about it because it sounds fucking awesome. Neil Simpson, it's been an absolute fucking pleasure. I've wanted you on the podcast for so fucking long, and finally, it's happened. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Dom. It's been a delight.
There we go. That is the fantastic Neil Simpson. Thank you so much for Neil taking the time out to talk to me onto the podcast. I wanted to have him on the show for so long. The opportunity finally came around. He was everything that I expected him to be. I can't wait to have him back on in the future because I want to dig deep into, certain areas. Content is obviously something that he's focusing on at the moment. I want to talk about content because he's absolutely right in what he says. You can't just write content for content's sake, okay? You have to have a purpose, you have to have a reason, and you have to do it right, okay? And he's going to be developing this content school, which is awesome. I do recommend, if you haven't already, to go and check it out and see if you can get attending. It's something that I want to talk to him a bit more closely about. So hopefully we'll have him back on the show. The very sometimes controversial Neil Simpson, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for listening. I would love to hear, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of them this time, any questions, queries, or feedback about the show. So don't forget, you can get in touch with the Punkcast by emailing us at punkcast@dmpunk.co.uk. Also, you can connect with me across all social media. Find me on Facebook, on facebook.com/IamDMPunk, or on Twitter, IamDMPunk, or on Instagram, I am DM Punk. Are you getting the pattern here? Also, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. Just search for Digital Marketing Punk, and my lovely, beautiful face will show up. It would be great, if you haven't done so already, to subscribe to the Digital Marketing Punkcast. If you really like the show, then you can help me out and show your appreciation by giving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It's not called iTunes anymore, people. It's called Apple Podcasts. So you can give us a 5-star review. It will really, really help me out. And I hope you will join me on the next episode of the Digital Marketing Punkcast. I will see you there.